Piekarczyk, just call me Stan. The last name's a little tricky for some people. And been amateur since 1994. I was originally licensed in California. And I got involved with ARES races a little bit, but when I got here, I went to a couple of ARES meetings, and they said they're looking for a new EC, and I fell asleep, and when I woke up, I was it. Okay, I'm just going to give an overview of what ARES and races is, how to get involved. It does not take superhuman strength or knowledge to be there. I just ask for a little bit of a commitment. So ARES is a program sponsored by the American Radio Relay League. It's copyrighted of the American Radio Relay League. That's a national organization since 1935. We are not voted in office as ECs or DECs. We are appointed by the ARRL section manager, who right now is Jason Betts, KC9FXE. Wisconsin is divided into 6 sections, and we follow the Wisconsin Emergency Management regions. So I have a boss in WEM, Wisconsin Emergency Management, Steve Fensky, N9NNR. No, that's not right. Yeah, it is. It just changed recently. So, he actually works here in Fond du Lac in the WEM regional office. He lives in Wapaka, and we confer about a lot of things going on. So I have him for a boss. I also have the section emergency coordinator for a boss. And sometimes all the ECs are my boss. It's a busy job. I enjoy it though. Individual units are usually assigned by county. We have a Fond du Lac ARES. It's very small right now. Todd Bay, you probably remember AC9X, I think it was?
EX.
EX. He retired. He's on the road someplace in Arizona, I think, right now. And I'm filling in for Fond du Lac for him right now. But most counties have an EC. We are short right now. Anyone here from Sheboygan County? Okay. We do not have an ARES unit in Sheboygan, Marquette, or Waushara at this time. That's my only counties do not have ECs. And Kewanee, I actually merged with Brown County, so Chris back there is handling 2 counties at once. Luckily, Kewanee is a pretty small county, but we do try to manage by county if possible, or sometimes we merge 2 or 3 counties together. ARES is not a club, it's a service, amateur radio emergency service. And I do want to stress, we are not under the direction of the club. We are not a segment of the club, although sometimes it kind of gravitates that way. And we're not in competition with clubs. That's a lot of times a misunderstanding of, well, you're trying to do what the club does. Well, we do run differently. How many remember Steve, W9GPI? Used to be a club president and the EC. We normally don't want people to take both jobs, but Steve was an abnormally organized person. He was brilliant, a very smart man, and he was able to pull it off pretty good. So a little jealous of him, but I couldn't do it. But one thing is, though, we should have agreed upon working relationship with the local club. Make sure everyone understands, you know, good neighbors have good fences type thing, and good understanding of what we do. And if you do have that, everything works great. Here's our regions. I got 14 counties in the East Central region. The color coding is not great on this, of course, but we're kind of getting an idea. And that, again, mirrors the Wisconsin Emergency Management team. RACES, some of you know about this already, a little bit different. Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Services. This is more of the old, that's part of FEMA, used to be a part of the civil defense system. We are amateur radio operators, and once registered with a local emergency management agency, in case of a national emergency where we have to go radio silent, we're the only radio operators that can operate. Maybe. Depends on the situation. Wisconsin made an agreement with emergency management a number of years ago to where if you register for ARES, you register with the RACES. So if you want to wait to just do RACES thing, it's going to be a little more cumbersome. If tomorrow, because too many balloons come over, we shut down all the radio systems, and only RACES is operational, then if you want to register up, we could probably make it happen, but it's going to cost extra work for myself and for Chris and all the other Cs in the area. Under RACES, you're activated by the local emergency manager, usually, or maybe a state emergency management. So we're not going to activate ourselves. ARES, we have a little more flexibility. We can activate on our own. We normally do it in concert with a served agency, but under RACES, we have to be called up from someone up higher. Local ARES leadership, Brown County, and now Kewaunee County also. Chris, you met already? Calumet County, I'm sure you all worked with Nate one time or the other. Race the Lake this year, we had a lot of people from Fond du Lac Club and Fond du Lac ARES that were part of that, and Nate was part of that. Dodge, Dale Marks has been in Dodge County EC for a number of years.
Since electricity.
Long time. He was a long time.
Maybe. Guy from Fond du Lac, that guy now. Green Lake, Mark Baker, Case 9 UVP. Anyone here from Green Lake by any chance?
No, but I know Mark, he's a big guy.
He's a great guy. Now that was one of those situations, I'll be right up front, with the emergency management, doesn't really want to work with ARES at the location. So we have an ARES group, extremely small, we're trying to work through that. It happens occasionally. I've had very good luck with all the other counties, except that one. Right now, we do not have a group in Marquette County. We're trying to work on getting that reestablished. Sheboygan, again, is open. Winnebago County, Dan Lenz, been around forever also, came in on IME. He used to be the Winnebago ARES, then he was the district EC, then he was the state training EC, then he kind of retired from everything. When our other EC left, suddenly due to his work, Dan filled in. He's going to fill in for another 2 months. We'll have another EC coming up for Winnebago County. And they're a small unit. They're trying to regrow again also. COVID knocked the heck out of us, as you can imagine. We couldn't meet. We actually were called up once to do help at the hospitals, and they said, no, we don't want you because many of you are over 60. So, okay. Washington County is also open. I've got a volunteer. We're trying to get some manpower up there. And woman power. Our nets, this is most of our nets I have listed here. I was going to start with Fond du Lac. I haven't done it yet. We did talk about doing that a couple months ago. I'm going to regroup and set that up again so we'll have a net. We'll probably do it after the Fond du Lac Amateur Radio Club net, so people can just jump from one to the other. And now that Super Bowl's over, it's going to be easier to have a net. A net on Super Bowl Sunday just doesn't work. So there's our local net schedule right now. Membership standards, like I said, it does not take superhuman strength. 12 home county ARES RACES nets per year. So once a month, if you make one of the nets. Most people make most of them. Occasionally we have people that work shift work, travel a lot. We do bend the rules for that due to those circumstances, of course. But if you don't make a couple nets in a row, we kind of give you a call. You're still interested, are you still there? Participate in one ARES RACES activity. It could be Skywarn, it could be some other activity that we do. One of the races, one of the public service events, or a meeting with WHAM for training. Attend one ARES RACES meeting per year. We'd like to have yet more, if we have them. And just stay tuned and some training. We always have training. We're not very eclectic in our approach. It's usually some kind of training session will go on. Message handling. Something new coming out is damage assessment. And something that may come out is a response for CART, or child abduction response teams. That's in its infancy right now. I mean, it's like, they're just looking at using ARES for that. I can talk more about that a little later. Got to send at least one radiogram per year to the emergency coordinator if you want to stay active, which you should be able to do, but believe it or not, a lot of people don't practice the radiograms that much. Be a contributor, attend Skywarn training at least once every 2 years. That'll be coming up here shortly. And the one thing that really got upset about 15 years ago was attending the Incident Command System courses, ICS 700, 100. I'm not going to get into the entire Incident Command System, but any volunteer agency, any professional agency that's going to respond to a disaster has to take at least a rudimentary Incident Command System courses. And all it does is explain the organization of how a disaster will roll out, how we'll respond, what our places are. Communications falls under the logistics group right now, so if we were to have a big call-up and you were all volunteer, you'd report to the staging area, go to the logistics group, he would assign you to a COM-L, a communications unit leader, and then you get your assignments from there. And then all the club calls, all the ARES calls, all the ARES stuff goes away. You are a radio operator, and you're going to be at Red Cross, you're going to be at Salvation Army, you're going to be at the hospital. So we forget which ARES group we're with, we forget which club we're with, we're like radio operators. Puts us all in the same plan. But anyway, ICS 100, 700 for the basic member. As you graduate up to EC level, DEC level, there's a lot more incident command system courses. You can make a profession out of going through these classes. They're very interesting. You'll find out disasters are almost choreographed. None of the Keystone Cops stuff. Most of us know what the Keystone Cops were, remember the old movies? So when you respond, there's a very set way of doing it, and don't want to rush in. Members not to be sent on their own to a dangerous situation. That is something we really drive upon. There have been a few people, especially during Skywarn, they watch YouTube, they watch these old storm chasing movies, and they'll put themselves in a dangerous situation. We do not want you to do that, and we want to make sure you don't. I've actually kicked people off of nets and told them to go home because they were acting in a very unsafe manner. And, one guy parked underneath a wall cloud because he wanted to get a good view of it. A wall cloud dropped a tornado out in 15 seconds. You're not going to drive or run real far. So he got really mad at me, and I never heard from him again. We're both okay with that. Anyway, that's our standards. Rumors. This is my favorite subject to cover. It's a normal human thing you want to be in the know, and you want to trust everyone you talk to, all your friends. So some people say something, and they'll add to it or subtract from it, so you're not too sure what the original story was. Like, where do these balloons come from? China? Are they weather balloons? There's hundreds of rumors where these balloons are if you listen to the news today. So that's a good subject. As far as ARES and rumors is, ARES isn't doing it right because I heard from a great source that, and it's like, okay, where'd you get that from? We've had some really interesting aspects of ARES. Some were, it's a club, and they never would respond, didn't want to take training. We're ARES, but we're not going to do the training. I saw on Facebook. How many are on Facebook? Not that many. I got kicked off. But anyway, that is Rumor Central. Facebook, Twitter, if you haven't noticed. It's great to keep in touch with your family and friends, things like that, but a lot of the stuff on social media is, to me, it's just a rumor mill. So you get something from there, you may want to check it with an ARES official, myself or Chris or a local EC, and find out exactly what it is. I joined ARES, and I wanted to do something different. We actually had some people kind of almost went into a militia-type direction at one time. He said, no, we're not police, we're not fire, we're communicators. We're communicators, we deal with radio. We're not going to do security, we're not going to do traffic control, we're not going to do, spying, we do communications to help a serve agency. Does not operate what my club does. That happens a lot nationwide. When I first got licensed in California, I was in a club. There was an ARES group, had like 3 people in it. There was another club. The 2 clubs wouldn't talk to each other, and no one wanted to join ARES. So it was a little uncomfortable, but actually we got it sorted out after a couple of years of just get rid of the rumors and get the facts out. My favorite, you can't tell me what to do, I'm a volunteer. If you're going to volunteer for ARES, what are you volunteering for? We do have set guidelines, set rules. Our served agencies, Red Cross, Salvation Army, hospitals. If we do help fire departments usually in communications, they're going to have rules for us too, so this is what you're volunteering for. How to cure a rumor? Ask for the information in writing. Pretty much this entire presentation comes out of the ARRL ARES RACES manual. You can download it from the ARRL website, and our new Wisconsin website will be up in about 3 weeks. You can download it from there too, and you can read all about how ARES is laid out exactly, and races. And ask the person that's telling you it to participate and see what's really happening. That's a big one. Well, what does ARES really do? Well, come on out, or listen in. It's a good way to solve all those. I worked in aviation about 40 years. Believe it or not, there's rumors in aviation sometimes. curl your hair. But anyway. Basic functions of ARES and RACES, when activated by government or major served agencies. We support the communication needs on their requirements, their needs. Again, in a major disaster type situation, we report to the logistics branch and go to the COML, or communications unit leader. That's a special course, takes about 5 days and about a year of training, practical training to get qualified for. I took the in-house training. I didn't finish my workbook yet. I probably won't, because it's been a number of years since I took the classroom portion. But it's very exciting how to hook everyone up together, police, fire, amateur radio, Salvation Army, CAP, and get them all talking. It's a very intense course. And they're going to put you on an Incident Command System 205. I'm not going to cover that tonight. That's about a 2-hour lecture. But it tells you how to, gives you the entire comm plan for the entire incident, so everyone knows how to find somebody else in communication lines. Basically, we use a standardized approach to emergency communications, plain English. We try to eliminate slang. We just had a talk yesterday on Outagamie Net. We use the ITU phonetics, international phonetics. Police and fire don't. They use names.
Yep.
And sometimes when we mix, they listen to us and they're like, what are you talking about? I mean, we listen to them and what are you talking about? So that's something, if you do mix those, you have to be on cue to kind of get to their jargon. No more 10 codes, although police and fire still use 10 codes a lot. They actually explained why they do that to me one time, and it's like, you don't want to say, I have a crazy person at, Main and Johnson Street. They have a 10 code for that, so that's why they do that. ARES map, mutual assistance teams. Something was to happen in any of our counties at Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. A lot of our members are working full-time jobs. I'm pleasantly retired now. It's great if you haven't done it yet. But we might have 3 or 4 people available from each county. So they'll pull people from surrounding counties, help out, and get communication needs going. And then as people get off work, get some available time, we can supplement our manpower again that way. So we do try to practice that. Race Lake was a good example. We had 4 ARES counties involved with that. And it's what we got trained for. We practiced with our served agencies a little bit, not as much as I'd like, but we're working on that now that COVID is slipping away. There's exercise comes up every year or two, SIMCOM, State Interoperability Mobile Communication Centers. Last year we had part 1 of 2023, in October of last year, in Wood County and in Rock County. And in those exercises, National Guard is there, police, fire, ARES, Red Cross, Salvation Army, pardon me. And we try to interoperate. And we run into trouble. And we fix it. And we learn from that. So next one's coming up in May of this year, May 3 through 5. Sounds like Brown County is going to be one of the center points of it, probably near the airport. That's all I've been told so far. We're still trying to work out all the logistics. VOAD, Volunteer Organizations Active in Disasters. There's only about 3 counties that have that. That's a really neat group. Basically, all the disaster members, Red Cross, Salvation Army, ARES, CAP, all meet on a regular basis and train together, the leadership. So if something was to roll out, we've got a pretty good idea what's coming up and how to meet and how to work. I'm also the VOAD membership coordinator for Outagamie County right now. I was the chair at one time, and now I'm membership coordinator. So, FEMA Region 5, which is Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. We do have nets every 2 weeks on 60 meters, at 3 in the afternoon, channel 4. Everyone's welcome to check in. It's a check-in net, and then they'll give you instructions to go to 40 meters, and usually 7280 more or less, up or down a little bit. We meet again there, and then they go to D-Star. I can't remember the reflector because I don't have D-Star. and then they go to DMR. And it's simply a check-in of all the states, all the people who are available to check in to the FEMA Region 5. And basically, we know each other, and if things were to go bad, the FEMA region office in Chicago does have a ham radio station. There's a gentleman up there, he is a retired state police officer from Florida. He moved from Florida to Illinois. Anyway, and he runs part of the FEMA communications group up there. And he's an amateur radio operator, and he definitely wants ARES, and actually amateur radio is part of it. So we can practice together. The Mars, we have XCOM exercises now and then, and they're kind of sprung on us suddenly. We try to operate with Mars on the amateur band. Sometimes we got to work splits, because they're in the Mars portion and we're in the amateur portion, and you get that split practice. WEM drills, Kiwani Power Plant drill, and major sporting events like Race the Lake, Fox Cities Marathon, things of that nature. That's how we practice. We try to practice the ARES only sporting events the same as we do for disaster. We try to keep the same kind of tempo, same kind of documentation as you would for disaster. Some infrastructure, about 85% of the hospitals in the state of Wisconsin have amateur radio gear. We happen to know Fond du Lac County is the best organized right now. Thanks to Doug and Lloyd and Tom. Thank you very much on that. We had this in operation. We were practicing with it occasionally. COVID hit. We were banned from the hospitals.
Yep, they threw us out.
What's that?
I say they threw us out.
They threw us out. And some hospitals go, what's this stuff? We don't know. Box it up, and they don't know where they put it. So some hospitals lost their gear. Some we stayed in contact with via emails and stuff, so we know it's there. So we're gearing back up, get it all back organized. But Fond du Lac has got the best system. Thanks for that. Most of the county EOCs have amateur radio gear installed, including Fond du Lac. The thing is, we have a new emergency manager as of January 1st, December 1st. One left, the new one was coming in, never showed up, decided didn't want the job, another person took over, and she's getting her feet wet. She's also the 911 dispatch center supervisor, so she's got, yes. Yeah. She's got her hands full.
Yeah.
She's got a handful, so her and I are gonna meet sooner or later, and then, but she said right now, she's got a couple more months of things to get straightened out, and then she'll talk to us, so. But there is operation up there, but right now we're not gonna use it till things get settled down for her. Yeah, we work for the emergency management. We don't tell them what to do. They tell us what to do. We ask if we can help, but we gotta, respect their positions and all the things they have to go through, like county exec, sheriff's departments, 20-some fire departments, they gotta work with. WEM emergency communication trailers, there's 2 in the state, I think, and it's amateur radio gear, HF, VHF, UHF's all in there. I think they even have a D-Star now. And, yes. Some of the major cities did work with ARES, has other support amateur gear that's portable for deploying to shelters or bash casualty centers. And Outagamie County's got 3, City of Applin's got 3, and a couple other towns are talking about doing the same, where they'll have their own ARES gear stashed, and they will pick it up and deploy to whatever centers they need, because those might be real flexible. Mobile communications varies by county, by what the county can afford, what the manpower is available to maintain a trailer or a truck. I guess the big yellow banana was sold off.
Yes, it was.
Huh?
It was sold.
Yeah, it was. Vehicles are hard. The expense on them is much greater. Trailers are a much better way to go, in my opinion. A little more flexibility, a lot cheaper, and anyone can tow it. So. Formal activation. Key thing here is we got to be invited to a major activation. We're not going to show up on our own. We can stage away from it, get it ready, but we're not going to show up at the site until we're called for. Whenever you sign in, Chris, do you have you have a YCAMS badge on you? Just want to hold it up there real quick. We have a state ID card. It's called YCAMS, Wisconsin Accounting Badge. But anyway, there's another there's a acronym for it. Basically, that badge, we can go anywhere in the state if invited. We can scan in, it's got all of our ICS training, our amateur radio information, and basically whatever we tell them to put on there. So when we scan in, they have an idea who we are, what we can do. When you scan in, it's like scanning at work for a time card. They want to know who's where at all times, and when they close down, you've got to demobilize, you've got to scan out. Don't just wander away, because they'll go looking for you, and then you'll really catch it. Attend the briefings at a formal activation, assignments by net control for small areas activations, for larger activations, maybe bigger. Our documentation, the radiogram isn't used that much with our certain agencies. The radiogram is based on the Western Union Telegram from 18 whatever.
I still have a book of those at home,
I do too, we still use them.
the yellow ones, with the
Yep.
green writing.
You can still use them, we still practice with them regularly. ICS 213 is one of the forms that our served agencies like to use. Incident Command System 213. You can download that from the FEMA site. Be careful where you get your copy from. Some people have adjusted them a little bit. One called the ICS 213 out of Maryland, it looked like the radiogram. They just renumbered it. It was like, if someone uses that, you're using the standard one, all the blocks are in different orders, so it won't work. So, the 214 is a unit log. We check in, you'll be assigned on a unit log, and I'm not going to cover that tonight. That's, they've changed that one at FEMA. I'm trying to learn the new version. The ICS or ACS 309, Oxcom 309. It's basically a record of radio transmissions. At 2040, I contacted so-and-so on moving water station number 3. At 2042, they answered back, in progress. Just a real short summary, dates, times, call signs, and you have a list of, like, you could list, I think, 30 on each side, and it's just a continuous log. After a major event where you're dealing with served agencies, they're going to want all this documentation. So everything you wrote down, the ICS 213s, radiograms, 309s, they're going to want to collect those because it becomes a permanent record in case there's more to deal with the incident. Floods in 2008, we had a lot of floods in Wisconsin. Fond du Lac had a lot of flooding, Oshkosh, Rock County, those areas. Due to my VOAD contacts and working with them, they just finished the money closeout on that last year. There's all these donations and all this funding comes from FEMA and from donations. Donations management is a nightmare. Just don't get involved with it. But if you do, it takes years to disperse all those funds, and they finally just were able to close out the records on 2008 last year. So all that documentation can be part of that. We have a lot of contestants here. Don't be insulted by what I said. A lot of amateurs contest. That's great. But when you do the ARES thing, you do the formal activation, it's not like contesting. You have to be a little bit more patient, take your time. I've had incidents the week after the Wisconsin QSO party, people got that go, 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 go attitude. We had an exercise, and people just started splattering over each other. And it was very embarrassing because it was right in front of the County Health Department of Outagamie County. So we had to redo it. They liked it the second time. So just take the contesting off, put the ARES hat on, a lot more formal, a little bit slower. Some people get frustrated by how slow it can go. Just be patient. We'll get the information out there. But, accuracy, brevity, and clarity is the key points of our emergency communications. Only send requested traffic or pertinent information to the incident or accident or disaster you're dealing with. Opinions have a place, not during the net. Opinions have a place on what's called the hot wash. As soon as the activity is over, we have a quick meeting, and you tell them what worked, what didn't work, how to fix things, or what you think can be fixed. They definitely want your opinion, but not during the net. Some upcoming events, working with the hospitals, reload our kit and our equipment.
Thank you. Sorry, Gavin.
Working with neighboring counties, we're practicing our ARES mutual aid a lot more this year. That's something I've been pushing on our district. Participate in all the nets we can, go across nets. Brown County checking out a gaming, vice versa. You check in with each other's nets. Plagiarism is my friend. Find out what they're doing better than you and steal it. Participate in events and SimCom in May 2023, May 3-5, 2023. Basically, we're amateur radio operators that volunteer some additional time for training, practice, deployed to serve and assist served agencies in times of communication issues. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions?
Everyone still awake? Yes, sir.
Yeah, this club is very involved with field day, of course, towards the end of June. And I've always billed that as emergency communications disguised as a contest. Which I guess it is in a way. But essentially, what you have said is that only the ARES operators in a situation like where a real emergency exists would be able to use the radios.
Well, is it, we could take people who are not in ARES, deployed to a site. If you're not on a YCAM's card, you're not, going to secret handshake and all the formal training, but we need extra operators. What'll happen is you'll be brought in and you'll get a quick cram course on ICS, Incident Command System. And I'm talking a 2-day course is going to be in 15 minutes, and you'll get a temporary badge issued to you. They do a quick little background check also, make sure you're not in the crime system for anything terrible. Okay, background checks, real quick. If you did drugs when you were in college, you got busted with a joint, who cares? I don't care. Crimes of violence, sex crimes, history of repeat offenses of fights. You get in a bar fight once, I don't know, 2 fights, 3 fights, you're out of here. It's that kind of background check. So you don't have to be an angel, you have to be just able to be competent. So there are a way of getting people into on-the-spot volunteers.
I just kind of suggest that we, people who might find themselves interested in this, they might join ARES now rather than when it's too late.
That's my goal. That is the best way to do it. Another option too, if something's happening when we need HF and we're at a spot where we don't have the ability to set up antennas, and you're a good operator, you're not in ARES, but you could relay traffic good. You could relay from on VHF, UHF, from a local spot to you, and you could relay it on HF without all the other rigmarole, believe it or not. But that's kind of a who knows who type thing, and is this a good person, and can you use the forms? Do you have ICS 213's handy? The key thing on any radiogram with 213 is, whatever you were told, you put that out, don't change it, don't add, do not subtract. If they said it wrong, you send it out, literally. So,
Yeah.
Would you be interested in writing an article every month that you can put in our newsletter? We send out to 100 hams every month. We give you a section of the newsletter, and you could keep us up to date with things that are going on and how to join and things of that sort.
I actually put out a newsletter every 2 months for ARES.
I was gonna say, why don't we just copy what he already puts out?
Whatever you send me, I'll put in our newsletter.
Sure, we can do that.
Okay, you've got
You
my.
probably won't want to put the whole thing in there, probably just,
No, put the whole thing in there, we'll edit it.
it is kind of setting, I'm a little bit informal. I'm retired Air Force, I was a sergeant for way too many years, and I'm very direct sometimes, including in my newsletters. So I'm looking at Chris back there for some feedback.
Good.
That's good.
So there may be a few things I don't want to go out to everyone, and I'll let you know.
Just put those in red.
Very good. Stan, thank you very much. I think, is there one last question, or are we good to roll? Thank you very much.
One last Wednesdays, Sunday mornings, if you're home, if you want to check into the Wisconsin ARES Races HF net on 3.985 on 75 meters, everyone's welcome, 8 o'clock.
3985, isn't that the Badger weather net?
Yes, oh, wait, pardon me, yes, that is.
That's before the,
3967,
That's what I thought.
967, my mistake.
Yep.